Thank you. Good morning. Welcome to the September 27th, 2022 meeting of the County Facilities Committee. Start with the motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. Moved by McGowan, Supervisor McGowan, second by Supervisor Stroud. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next, we'll begin with weights and measures. Additionally, before we get started, I just want to announce, this is really nobody here from the public or whatever. Any comments from anybody except committee members will have to wait until privilege of the floor at the end of the meeting. Just want to make that clear. So, Mr. Waddell.
Good morning. So just we've gone over my budget a few times. Just here, I guess, look over it one more time. Nothing has changed really. Fuel's obviously gone up a little bit in my budget. It's a small budget. So is there any questions that you guys have for me? Adjusted?
Any questions from committee members? Supervisor McGowan.
Thank you, Mr. Sherman. Mr. Waddell,
Yes.
how did our revenues go this year with the increase? Did you?
Yeah, everything's going fine. I haven't had any complaints so far. Now we doubled the inspection fees from $5 to $10, and no issue so far. The revenues coming in should be double this year from last year for inspection fees.
I also have heard that due to your keen schedule and keeping up with everything, we've been able to go out there and do some more shelf price checking, they call it, or
Pricing action inspections and package checking inspections. Yeah. Today, I think about 20 pricing action inspections and probably 15 or 16 package checking inspections, which also package checking inspections bring in some more revenue there as well throughout the year.
well, I just would like to thank you, really. Things seem to be going really smooth over there for you, and you seem to be always on the road. I always keep an eye on the truck, so.
I try to stay out there and be a public eye. I might have known them out there doing jobs for them, so I want to be on the road. That's mainly where my dad is.
We really appreciate having you on board. Thank you.
That it?
Oh, yeah.
Supervisor Beatty.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Hey, Jeff, so when you do price checks, what percentage do you find are not accurate?
It depends on the store. To pass a pricing action inspection, the store has to have 98% to be passed out of 100. We're going and inspect 100 items on a shelf.
Mhm.
Pass, you have to have 98%. Some stores pass, but 98% is way high. I think to be perfect at big stores, so most of the tests they fail, but we just tell them the correct prices while we're there. As long as they do that, it's something we mainly care about. Percentage wise, it varies. Usually between 80 and 90%.
89% pass or fail?
Well, to pass, it has to be 98%.
Right. So
So
you find 80 to 90% actually have
Yeah,
accurate
accuracy.
price.
yeah, between 10 to 15, 20% incorrect prices.
So when you find one that's fairly low, 80%, 70%, they correct it then. Okay, you tell them these items have incorrect pricing, they go and correct it. Do you have in your schedule that you do a follow-up with them, a little shorter time frame than the normal?
Yeah, they should be an increased inspection frequency after they fail by that much. And there are a couple stores that I do spend more time at than others.
Do you get to the point where what is the process where they now become a violation, second violation, and now they become into I assume you have the authority to fine them?
So there has been one fine I've issued in the 3 years that I've done this. And it was a violation after repeated attempts to try to get the store correct prices, I did find the store. Can be up, what I find is $50 per item that's incorrect. So, you know, if you're gonna find a store, something over 3 or 4 items, $20 is really not worth doing it. So they have to fail back quite a bit, I think.
So
Really
is it,
set the time out.
okay, so is there a set amount that you find per item? Like you said, $50.
That's standard throughout.
So in other words, the third time you go to the store, they're screwing up again. You see that they just aren't getting with the program of being correct on their pricing. So you mentally say, okay, now I'm gonna find them. I've warned them twice. They've corrected them twice. So you find out of 100 items of which you check, you find another 25 incorrect. So would they each get a $50 per item, those 25, which comes to what, $1,250 or?
Right. Well, the maximum you can find per item is $300 per item. But I've kind of kept it on the low side. And it has to be equal throughout for everybody.
Right. So what is that number?
It's $50.
It's $50 per item. Okay, and it's up to your
Same with
discretion.
package checking.
Yeah, it's up to your discretion whether it's a second or third or fourth offense. That's, you have that lead, correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thanks. Thank you.
Supervisor Conover.
Chairman, in your, I think, weights and measures, in your budget, you show actual revenue in 2021 of 18,396.89, and you're projecting for next year revenue of 17.5.
That's just what me and Mr. Thomas have come up with. It's going to be much more than that. The revenue 4,000 comes in from the state for gas samples. They refund us for that, and then the 13,500 is just projected through package checking or inspection fees. That doesn't include package checking inspections that we also will have fees coming for. But it already, I think I've already surpassed that number.
So the idea being you don't want to count your chickens before they
Right,
hatch.
yeah, exactly. As long as I bring in that much, if I bring in more, it's just gonna make me happy, I would think.
All right, I was just offering that insight for Frank sitting here. I just see Thomas and should use some work.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And last year, we did bring in the inspection weights and measures fees from, increased from 10,000 to 13,500 this year.
Thank you.
What else? Anyone from the public, Mr. Lehman?
Hi, Chairman Bruno. No, there's nothing on YouTube.
Thank you. Okay, that's it for weights and measures. Thank you, Jim. Next up, the fire prevention and building and codes. Mr. Wallace.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Before we get started, I'd like to ask the temporary county administrator, are we expecting the county attorney to have representation here today? Because they weren't represented yesterday. That's a first for me, never seeing the county attorney's office.
Thank you for asking that. They will not be here today. This is because of the NISAC schedule last week that interrupted our usual run of show of where we have the committee meetings following the third Friday of every month. And because of that NISAC meeting, we had to postpone these meetings to this one. In the beginning of the year, the county attorney's office had set their schedule, and they are doing depositions right now, which was quite an involved process. So they are not going to be here.
So follow up. So we just hired a fourth attorney down there just 2-3 weeks ago. So that attorney couldn't have been scheduled beforehand. I'm just wondering why we wouldn't have, I feel a little uncomfortable. Yesterday, there's some issues that came up that we needed a county attorney's advice or, direction, and not having any representation here. I feel like we're only halfway doing our job or our responsibility. But so you're telling me that if schedule changes, they do a year out schedule. If it changes and we have an extra day of meetings or something, they can't change that. I find that a little odd. especially since we've hired a fourth attorney for that office, but okay.
Right, but that fourth attorney has absolutely no experience with operations of the county, so I don't know what utility they would serve here at this time.
Could they have a fourth attorney do some of the other jobs of the second or third or first attorney so that one of them could then sit in here?
I doubt it.
Well, they all are attorneys, right? I mean, they're all certified attorneys. So I don't know. All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, anything else? Okay, we'll move on to, as I said, building codes. Mr. Wallace.
Morning, everybody. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to review budget stuff. Couple of highlight changes. I'll just review with you real quick. Telephone went down significantly. Some cell phones out of the department. Increase gas, understandably. Travel, you know, a little bit. I think for the most part, everything else kind of stayed the same. Revenues, on the revenue side, we did increase that quite a bit because of the fee changes. Basically took off all of the fees that came in 2021 fire safety inspections, and then added 30% to the budget line after that. That's how came to that number. I think it's going to be low, but with the economy the way it is, I think that it can go in any direction currently. Right now, we're probably within 10,000 of making this year's budget already. So, and there still seems to be a good amount of stuff coming through the door. Apartment building complexes that look like they're going to go. So there's still quite a bit of traffic in and out with new stuff coming in for this one. I think that's unknown what next spring is going to bring, really. So, see that.
So far, so good.
Other than that, as far as budget goes, I don't think there's really much for changes. So, if anybody has any questions, I can certainly try to answer them.
Yes, Supervisor.
Thank you, Mr. Charlie, really, thank you so much. You know, being in the building trade, I hear a lot of comments of how well and helpful your department is. So really do appreciate that. You do have some good sized apartments coming in, especially in the Lake George area. So one of them seems like it can be pretty big there. So I know you're going to be busy, but thank you for running a good outfit and keeping everybody respected with the correct permit they need.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, Supervisor Beatty.
Yeah, Charlie, so we're at 253 of the building permits to date, correct? Is that true?
253 to date? No. What
So fill me in. It
revenues
says 2021 actual amount.
on that page?
It's I'm sorry, Charlie, it's on the, it's not numbered.
Page 1 and 3.
Page,
Fourth page in.
fourth page in.
Okay.
Okay, where it says licenses and permits, building permits. It says 2021 actual amount 253, 23025.
That was last year's. We took in, I believe, 253, right?
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, so this year we're at, the actual amount is 169,896. That's through this month, correct, Charlie?
That is through when this was done.
Okay, which is
We've
probably July. or-
increased significantly since when this budget was actually put together. We're upwards, I want to say somewhere pushing 200 almost right now.
Okay, so the 265 number probably is a good estimate based on where you're trending now.
Yeah, I would say, I think it's going to be, I would hope it's going to be low, but I mean, I think it would have been a little better and there would have been a bigger offset had, you know, salary increases certainly ate into the increase in revenues that we should have shown. But I think that it's going to be a little low, but I tried to play it safe as well and not run over, so I'd rather have a little bit of a nest egg at the end of the year to put back in as opposed to running short.
All right, thanks, Charlie.
Supervisor Conover.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're wise being conservative in your projection on the revenue. Let's get a full year under our belt. We just adjusted, not just, but a month or two back, we adjusted the rate schedule. So we really don't have 12 months of experience under the new rate schedule. And then quite a few years. How long had it been before we hit? 2018.
Sorry,
So
don't use phones.
it had been quite some time since we adjusted that rate schedule, so I think 30% is conservative. I think that's the correct thing to do. Thank you.
And next year, that's even gonna have to get bumped up again because we'll be looking at renewal fees, because renewal fee is half of what the increased fee will be. So I'm gonna take a couple of years to really get a feel for where that's gonna be at as we move forward.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Anyone else on the committee? Yes.
Sorry for that interruption, but someone left the phone up here and, never mind.
On the phone?
Anybody lose a phone? Please step out into the hall and we're going to punish you.
Hey, anyone from the public, Mr. Lehman?
Where do you find this help?
Hi, Chairman Bruno. No, nothing on YouTube.
Thank you. If that's it. Thank you, Mr. Wallace. If there's no
The
further.
next item I have is, I got more.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Approval to attend the conference for 3 people. This annual fire marshals conference. We've had to do virtual like everything else. We're trying to ease back into some in person. So we're trying to get at least 3 people out there this year and having the budget for next year to 3 people in person again. So looking for approval for that conference in October. That's awesome.
We'll do that outside committee. I'll
Unless you
approve.
need funding. Do you need funding for the travel?
No, I don't need funding. I just need the approval.
Okay, so that's not done by committee anymore. That's, you just submit your travel authorization. I'll hook up with you after the meeting to make sure.
Okay, I just thought, does the dollar amounts still apply? No, okay, sorry.
Err it on the side of caution.
All right, sorry about that.
That's fine.
Nice.
And one other item, I brought this to budget committee. And I also talked with Chairman Bergel as well. It was brought up one other time before. Just to make everyone aware, moving forward over the next couple of years, we're looking at about almost 100% turnover probably in that office. Okay, just because of retirements. So I just want to make sure everyone's aware. The first couple appear to be coming January of 24. One perhaps in January, one in February. Okay, so that automatically puts me 2 people down for 2024. And to give you the time frame of how that works, it takes somebody about 6 months to get certified to do code enforcement. So from the time they get here to the actual time they can do the enforcement parts of it, it can be a pretty large amount of time. And that's only if the state offers in-service training in January. So, because it's usually 3 days a month for 6 months to get full approval. And I just want to make sure everyone's aware of what we may be looking at in 2024, 2025. One, how much interest there would be out there as far as filling this type of position in enforcement. 2, making sure we maintain the service that we typically do. So that's we have operated a few years ago. We operated with that few people, but it was only for a couple of months. And it can be pretty daunting to deal with it. So I kind of brought it to budget to see if, throw that out there, see if anyone had any idea how to try to curb this. And wanted to bring it to this committee to see if anyone wanted to take any action this coming year, to see about perhaps finding somebody for a position, approving less than part-time, 6 months of full-time, but at least make you all aware of what may be coming down the road.
Supervisor Beatty?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chairman. So does the state offer the course only one time a year, or do they do it twice?
It can be 2 or 3 times, and I think they overlap. Like, I think last year they started it in January, but it's a 6-course series. So they start like a course 1 in January, and then they might start a course 1 again in March. But it's always a staggering type interval that they offer.
So so hire somebody. There are opportunities, not if we don't hire them in January, they obviously don't catch the January. But you said they offer it 2 or 3 times during the year that you can start at square one and complete the 6-course. Okay, so let me ask you this, what scenario are you looking for?
It would be helpful to have somebody in there that was at least have learned the office and started their series before somebody retires. But again, that means an extra position, the whole 9 yards. It's basically, we're creating another position that for 2023, we may not really need, but 2024, beginning of 2024, if these individuals actually move on. We're desperately going to need. But I've got a 6 or 9 months, depending on the window of when the state starts. I've got a 6 or 9 month lag time in there when I can actually use it.
So I'm just trying to get a handle on this, Jerry. So the individual takes the series of courses. Is that online or during the day or in the evening, or what is that?
It's typically one course. It's a 6-course series. It's 1 course a month. It's a 3-day class. They have to test at the end of each one of them, and they do it once a month, typically during the day. So it's an online.
So in the past, when we hired somebody, have you been there when we hired somebody in the past? I'm sure you have, right?
The last person I hired, I kind of had a feel that that's who it was going to be. I had contacted him in advance. He was willing on his own time before he worked for the county to start taking classes on his own. There was no fee for it on his part. I contacted the state, kind of got them on board with it. He actually completed 3 classes before as a private individual. And then when he came on board, he finished his last 2 classes, actually on county time in the office. So that certainly did help, because it cut down on the amount of time it took to bring somebody on board. But yeah, other than that, if you hire somebody in January, I'll just give you the perfect scenario. You hire somebody in January, so they have a January, February, March class. I could then use them for fire safety, but I can't even have them approve a set of plans until June. So, and depending if the state, you don't get in the window of the state issuing, starting this class in January, so they don't start until March. Just turn that 6 months into 9 months. You now have an individual that I can't use for building inspections, and I can't have him approve plans. He looks at all this stuff, he goes with people, but everything is checked by someone else that is coaching.
Okay, I'm just trying to get a handle. Thanks, Charlie.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
those are tested positions, are they?
Yes.
So there would also need to be able to coordinate with them taking a test or hired provisionally and all of that.
Unless there's an active list, and I believe the active list is going to expire before then. I have contacted Trish. She thought maybe they would have a class before that time frame, but
Supervisor Conover.
Yeah, I think that the county administrator and the human resource director should meet with Charles. And I think we need a transition plan put in place, brought back to committee to look at the different options. And I mean, the flow of material and review that goes through that department, let's not forget that we don't want to be holding up projects. We don't want to be delaying projects unnecessarily. I think that we have a responsibility to make sure that there's a smooth and orderly transition of responsibilities. Let's not forget, these folks are administered in the New York State Building Construction Code, a fairly exhaustive document to say the least. And that's not something that you just know. So I think that, you know, this is the challenge of small departments, of course, is how do you transition? So I think let's have our staff meet with Charles and let's have something put in front
I
of
think
us.
that's a good idea.
Well, there may need to be an additional appropriation of resource. I don't want to judge it at this stage, but I think that.
Mr. Wallace, does the state publishers furnish a schedule of when these classes are held?
I can check and see if they have anything out for 2023 yet. Not typically, they wouldn't usually advertise that until like December, but I'll see if they have anything.
But they do, they must furnish something saying, okay, in the next year, we're gonna have one starting here, one starting here, one starting here. No?
Would think, but
Well,
It's the
no, I'm
state.
asking, do they or don't they? No.
what's that?
I'm asking, do they or don't they? Do you know if they do or they don't?
But they offer them every year.
Right, but what I'm looking for is a schedule.
All I can do is check and see when that will be coming out.
So there is,
We don't.
here's my
usually see
point,
it.
stay with me. There is a schedule at some point, be it December,
Yes.
whenever.
Yes.
Okay, it's very helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
Supervisor McGowan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Charlie. If by chance you do find someone, we've got the testing and everything, and we can get them into the office, and while they're doing their certifications, all right, are there office things that they can do to help your department, you know, during your business where they can, you know, do things under your directions to help ameliorate so you guys can keep out in the field?
Actually, that's one of the first things we do because of what their limitations is they learn the ins and outs of all of the office stuff. Whether it's issuing permits, filing, just all the quirks of how the office actually works. So they have a pretty good window anyways, that's what they're concentrating on.
So you can utilize their time in between the testing and the classes. That's all right. Thank you.
Supervisor Thomas.
Would a part-time position help in this? And do you feel you can fill a part-time position?
I think anything would help. We would have to work out the scheduling. I know those classes that the state offers are typically 3 days in a row for 8-hour days. So we'd have to work that less than part-time classification around that. But these individuals would have to also be willing to work less than part-time for X amount of time.
Right.
And then know that they're transitioning into when the position becomes available into a full-time. So it's hard to say. I am not sure what the interest would be in an enforcement position to start with. Certainly, we see a shortage and a lot of different enforcement agencies wanting to get help. I know the city actually had a position open. Did you guys find a lot of interest in that? Supervisor Brown?
Not that I know
That was posted for several months, so, you know, I'm not sure what the interest level is,
Okay.
especially in that type of position now.
Thanks.
of. I think they have an individual now, I think. I've had, city is contracted with Labella to fill that need, if you will, right now. There are various, as you're well aware, there are various consultants that have certified people on staff, and they will either contract with a municipality or supplement them, what have you. And I think the city has someone, I'm not positive, but to your question, there hasn't been a lot of interest. There weren't 10 applicants or that sort of thing. So it's just like everything else these days, it's difficult to find people that want to do that for whatever reason. Supervisor Connell.
Yeah, that's why I don't think we're going to develop the plan today, but just, I mean, we know we don't have civil service lists. We know any appointment that's going to be made is a provisional, which means somebody's leaving a job to a provisional appointment that they have to score well on an exam to even take permanently. There's some real challenges here, and I think that we need to really give this the proper amount of administrative thought to make sure that you know, we cover the base. And you mentioned a very interesting point, which is that maybe the plan has to include an alternative where we have to contract privately while the rest of it's being brought along. I don't know, but I think that that is certainly something I think that our staff really needs to focus on.
Yeah. Supervisor McGowan.
Yes, thank you, Charlie. Would that be the course 9A to F?
Yes.
All right.
So how will this be orchestrated? Who's going to take the bull by the horns?
Mr. Chairman, I just sent you an email. I copied you on it and contacted civil service and HR to get together to do a transition.
Okay.
And we'll report back to
Mr.
your
Wallace.
committee.
Yeah, Mr. Wallace on this is included. So we put something together and bring it back to the committee. That would be good. And we can take it from there. Anything else? And we would expect that next month. I mean, it's got to happen fairly soon, not
Right. Mr. Wallace, you're looking specific, definitely for the 2024 year, but we need to be preparing here for in 2023. Is that correct?
Correct.
I just mainly am just bringing it to everyone's attention of what you're looking at in January 2024, you know. Whatever the plan may be, and it maybe it's nothing, and we just get by with what we have, but, you know, I felt, you know, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't make you guys aware of what you may be looking at potentially coming down the road.
We appreciate that. It's a good point, and we will take action on it and move it along. You will be in touch with, okay. So our acting county administrator will be in touch with you, schedule a meeting with you and the other individuals, and then bring something to the committee for consideration. Okay, anything else? If not, thank you. Okay, next up is the airport. Map and Superintendent Hajo's school.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I will take on the first three resolutions. The first one is a request to increase capital project H414 runway 119 remarking project. The second is a new contract for Highlight Airfield Services to do that work. And the last one is a request to amend the budget. We had already put local match into this project, but with the numbers that came in from the bids, we needed a little bit more. So we would be amending the budget and taking the money out of transfers to capital project for $1,900 for the rest of the local match. And this is just to finalize the numbers after we receive the bids.
These are all related, in other words.
That's correct.
runway.
119 marking project. Yep.
Need a motion?
We
Supervisor,
motion for all three together.
all three together. That's
I make that motion.
second by Supervisor Stroud. Discussion. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
The next item on there, if Chairman will allow me, I'll turn that over to Robin.
Very good. Mr. Matt?
Good morning again, everyone. This is a request miscellaneous for memorandum of understanding to request an MOU with Rich Ear and Saratoga County to jointly acquire and utilize an Iron Tiger 20K recovery dolly. So what the recovery dolly is, we had an incident about 2 months ago. We had a large twin-engine Beechcraft aircraft suffer a hard landing and pop the tire. It did not incur substantial damage, so we were able to move the aircraft. But because of the size of the aircraft, we did not have the correct equipment to move the aircraft. We're generally catered towards the smaller aircrafts like the Cessnas and so on, as opposed to the larger aircrafts. So we called around to the other airports in the area and we realized that no one has appropriate equipment. So we spoke, myself, Steve Abbott, General Manager of Rich Air, as well as John Zilka, Airport Manager of Saratoga County Airport. We got together and decided to acquire this piece of equipment that would cater to large aircraft, recovering towing large aircrafts. It'll be primarily stored at Warren County Airport as a kind of benefit to us. We would defer to our aircraft mechanic from the FBO to move the aircraft, so we will not be operating it, but at least you will have access to such a vital piece of equipment.
Right. So this piece of equipment allows you to maneuver or move some aircraft that is unable on its own without doing any damage to the aircraft.
Correct, that's correct.
So good thing. And it would be housed here at Warren County.
It'll be housed here, and other airports in the area wish to use it, then they can contact either ourselves or Saratoga County, and we can decide together if they have access to that equipment.
Be good. Questions? Supervisor Stroud?
Robin, does it take a flatbed to move it?
Let me see.
How do we move it from one airport to the next?
Also, the airport that needs the dolly could come and collect it, so we will not be responsible for transportation.
Okay, and do they need a flatbed?
No, it's not that large.
Okay,
It's about the size of a chair, to say, to be honest.
oh, all right.
It's a weird dolly, kind of like, like you put your cars on to move around the garage, kind of set it on there. That is what it kind of.
So it kind of fixes the one tire specifically.
So not real big plane.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you, Mr. Trent. The, what size plane was that?
The Beechcraft twin engine, so it's about 25,000 pounds.
Okay. But we could use that we also can use it for any single
Smaller as well,
or smaller planes, but not a jet.
not larger.
Okay, thank you.
Superintendent Hagens.
I just wanted to point out to Supervisor Stroud, if you look in the agenda, you'll see a picture of the dolly in the back pages of the agenda. So I think it's the second to the last or third to the last page.
Yeah, a little bit more modified than one that, people move their cars around in. No kidding.
Thank you.
Supervisor Beatty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So our cost is 20,000 and their cost is 20,000.
No, 2,000.
2,000.
Oh.
200.
2 there, okay. So our cost is 2,000. I assume their cost is 2,000 also,
It's split 3 ways, so equally.
3 ways.
Yes, between ourselves, the FBO, and Saratoga County.
Oh, the FBO is kicking it too, so total cost 6K. Our cost is 2,000.
I think it's broken down there as well.
I didn't see where it was.
Oh, I see. It comes in, folds and scoops underneath and then lifts up.
All right, there you go. Thank you. I didn't see it, but thank you. I'll make a motion to move this.
Second by Supervisor McGowan. Discussion. Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? Thank you.
Next items we have on there are discussion items. I will kind of hit the first one since I think we're all still recovering from Balloon Fest. We had a very good turnout. Friday night, of course, there wasn't a launch. The Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, we basically filled the airport to capacity, as well as our premier parking and our private parking. We had, in fact, this year was the first time that we had closed runway 19 first for traffic. And that's never happened before. We've always filled 12:30 first, but this year we actually filled Hicks Road, which is the 119 entrance first. And then probably shortly thereafter, probably in 20 minutes, we filled the Ridge Road entrance, which is 12:30. We, for the premier parking, sold out probably within 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks of the event. And that was a total of a gross of $7,162.50. The paid parking that we have over on Queensberry Avenue almost doubled from last year. Last year was $1,600. This year was $3,450. And then the donations as of cash, we didn't do the change yet, and the treasurer's office has all that money now. The donations, we took in $25,714. I want to say thank you to all the supervisors, not just the ones who were there, all the supervisors for making this happen. And especially thank you to the ones that came out and collected for the donations. With that being said, and I asked Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Beatty had some kind of thoughts going into next year, and I'm not sure if he wanted to share them.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, it was with Dr. Sieber, a discussion from that. I got 3 phone calls about donations. People wondering why they have to donate. They don't have to donate. Obviously, the term donate means it's at will, but there's concerns on that. And Dr. Sieber made a suggestion to me the other day. Shouldn't we be funding this, the county, ourselves? And I agree. And one of the avenues that we should be looking at for next year is we take it out of OCTAX for the, that's definitely a tourist related event. I think the OCTAX would more than qualify. We're falling over ourselves to spend this OCTAX money, doling out more to towns and all this other stuff. Let's use it where we should be using it. Not that the town shouldn't get some, but I think we use OCTAX money next year and donations, because I think the residents and even tourists look at, donations as, I don't know, something up and above board that we should be doing ourselves. And so that's just a suggestion. I think right now is not the time probably to discuss next year, but I think I'd like to throw that out there as a possibility for next year.
Good point. Good discussion to have. We'd have to make application, but I support that, but I will say this, most people are very, very generous and freely donate. I'm not sure why. I don't, is it because I think there were signs that these donations were in part to VFW?
That is, well, I'm not sure that all the signs say that, but I will add on. There's a percentage of the donations that we take in when the VFW helps, that we give 15% of the donations that come in.
I based that question, so to speak, on comments that I heard from a lot of the people who was collecting donations. But so again,
It's just an idea. It's
a good idea
whether
for
we
discussion.
do it or not, or a hybrid of that, because I think, with the VFW working and getting percent. I think we have it on the agenda in the upcoming months.
I agree. Supervisor McGowan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For one who has done this many years in a row and have stood out there for every opening of the gates, $35,000 $35,326.50 seems like of money that came in that helps. Now, I know there's a major cost for putting this on with the county, with the DPW and the sheriff's department. Being there 32 hours this past weekend, year after year, really makes me, I'm very pleased with the ability that everybody works together. Kevin Hajos, our superintendent of DPW there, does an excellent job, has a phenomenal crew that comes in, and really the respect that they all have out there. And they're long days, trust me. I mean, Saturday was, there's 16-hour days. They're long days out there. And I just have to say, I like the idea of the odd tax. The donations said Adirondack Festival donation. And that's all it is a donation. Some people don't carry cash. And that's all right. There's no pressures. People get frustrated. I'm like, there's no pressures to donation. Please, go spend some money in the festival, but go have a good time. That's the whole point. If we can help out the VFW, that was really how I think it all started back then. And then as VFW aged out there, it's tough. It's a long time, Dan, as you know, and poor Supervisor Molino had to walk back, a mile and a half because, you drive past, you look at those runways, they don't look long. But boy, you end up walking them or even driving with a golf cart at 5 miles an hour. They're long. Now, just a projection, Kevin, how many cars do you think we could park on that?
We're somewhere probably between 3,500 and 4,000 cars.
All right, so let's say 3,875 cars that we park on that runway, and Supervisor Beatty got, three. That's not a bad ratio for, and I like that, the idea of some of the odd tax, but then the other hand too is it's also, all it is a donation, and it really does help out the county. So, it all depends. I'm only one of 20 to make this decision, but I know that the hours that I put in collecting money, I think it's worth it. So thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Hajos.
And just to Supervisor Beatty, we can do this in the next couple of months, but I believe that tax applications are due in October. Are they not? I'm not. So if I'm to, and the sheriff, I would assume, apply for his own tax for his overtime, and then I will apply for what I would have in DPW. So I just think we need to make him aware of that as well, if he's going to do that. And I know there's a shorter application for municipal funding because we use the shorter application when we request money for Up Yonda Farms. So we can definitely get ours filled out if that's the direction you want me to go.
I don't think it would hurt. I'm sorry.
Okay.
No, you're okay.
I don't think it would hurt filling them out.
Get the application, we'll take it from there, but you get it in before the deadline.
So one other follow-up question, how much would the veterans of foreign wars get this year from this?
Probably $1,800. They receive a percentage of the days that they're working. They were there Friday and they were there Sunday.
Oh, okay, they get the days they were, okay. Okay, thanks.
Discussion, so we'll pursue this.
And also the VFW, they had one person there. We had one person on either end. So, but both entrances are shared. So, it's a good cause. I did have a couple repeat people that came in to show me that they still had their poppy, so they already paid, and but that's okay. Like I said, it's all good spirit and good time. So, however the committee wants to run with it.
Okay, we'll move along here. Next, project update.
I will turn that over to Robin.
Two updates and one really. I have the good doc here. You should be pleased to know that the gutters, we had some, I guess, bids or offers came out, review the process. Director Scott Rogers and Superintendent Hajos has been championing that champion that process. So hopefully I can give you an update later, but you should please know that we will get it done in time for winter. The second update is that we are building that second group of hangars that we expected to. We have the paperwork in time. We may not make it for this winter, but we are looking for a 2023 start date. So that is also further good news.
Good.
Questions?
Supervisor McGowan.
Thank you. You know, driving around, working this weekend, I noticed we have still some old hangars over there. If you're looking out over the airport to the left. Are those ones that we were supposed to take down and replace, but we weren't able to do all that?
So demolition of those hangars was a part of the original grant, but unfortunately the price of materials went up too high that the money didn't go as far. They are included as a part of this grant as well, but again, we have to see how far the money goes.
Well, I hate to take them down if we don't have any money to put new ones up, but there is a big difference between the new ones, which are really beautiful, and and then the little metal sheds they look like, more or less, but
So the good news is a part of our bipartisan infrastructure law money that the FAA awarded us, we were able to apply for new hangars to rebuild, to demolish and rebuild those old hangars. We have to wait until 5 years out before we are able to access that money, unfortunately, but that is a backup option. So if this grant does not cover demolition of the hangars, that money does.
one more follow-up there. I'm wondering if the good doc can do anything there and see what you and your friends could do to help us out there. You know, 5 years is a long time to wait. No pressure.
Well, in 5 years, those hangars may take care of themselves.
Yeah.
They might.
They're still decent shape, but there are some options we have in the short term. So
All right,
All right, thank you.
let's move on to the budget presentation.
The last item I have on there, and I include it in all my agendas, the last 2 pages kind of do a summary of the 2023 budget for DPW, which includes county facilities. And under the airport, we have increases, and mainly they're due to the same things that everybody else is seeing in increases, which is salaries and benefits, and heat and natural gas for out there. Since we have the new building online, that does not fall under the agreement that we have with Constellation and Direct Energy through Mega. So those are a little bit more costly with the natural gas for that building. Beyond that, the only other thing that I want to point out is revenues for next year are not the full projection for the solar farm, because we only think we're going to get half a year by the time they get it built. I know they're going through the approval process with the town of Queensbury right now, and I think they're almost there. And when that's complete, they will start construction of those. Chairman.
we still have the FAA review process as well, Jessica.
Yes, and that's correct. We still have an FAA review. So normally it would be $170,000 a year for the, I'm sorry, $130,000 a year for the solar farm. But next year we've only projected it to be half of that, which is the 65,000. The other thing that we will not have in a revenue next year, which we also didn't have this past year, is the restaurant. We do get the land lease from the restaurant, but we also used to collect or get revenue from the restaurant, which was about $30,000 a year. So with the solar farm only at 50% and the restaurant, that would gain us about $95,000 more a year. So until that restaurant gets filled with somebody again, we're not receiving that revenue right now.
What is the status there?
I don't know. That's with Rich Air and I haven't heard that they found somebody new to take over the restaurant yet.
We should look into that with them, and if they're the ones that are controlling that's a valuable asset, so to speak.
That was my question. Thank you. That was what.
But we can get an update from Repair as to where that stands. I mean, they may not be doing anything with it.
I will reach out to them and
Thank you.
maybe set up a meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, also being there all weekend, I noticed a lot of people pulling on the door to open it, so I didn't really see a close sign, not that I'm blaming anybody. I mean, there's a lot that went on out there in the airport, but like I said, it was great turnout and great weather. So happy we had a good weekend.
Now, I have several comments that I'll review with Mr. Radios, just maybe improvements, not big, but such as the, it's that runway 1230, I used to call it the east-west, but the entrance is there, but there's nothing that tells people that I saw that they can't exit that way. Because I had cars coming after they had parked, and been there a while, trying to go out that way. I had Rocky
Yes.
come and inform me very nicely that people couldn't go out that way. But anyway, that's one thing, and there's some others, but we'll get together. Good comment?
Just quickly, there's always traffic related issues when you're putting that many cars onto an airport. We had paid parking was backing up traffic, which was good for us because everybody was going into paid parking, but paid parking was backing up traffic all the way down Dick's, all the way down to Stewart's. It was a significant distance. But unbeknownst to me until I got over there is, and I'm glad that the sheriff was doing it because it gained us a little more money and revenue, is he was directing every car to come into paid parking. And that kind of hindered anybody going through to get to the free parking. So we had gotten over there and we had kind of shifted it. I kind of walked down the road for 10 minutes, paid parking here, free parking, keep driving state. And it picked it up fairly quickly. And there is signage around the airport that says where the exits are. In fact, right in the main intersection of the two runways, we have where the exits are, and it points on the VMS board. Maybe a couple more VMS boards out in the airport next year.
That is signage right there. It's, not an exit. Or do not
Well,
exit.
and Ridge Road is the one that is not an exit until Rocky gives us a sign or we give him the sign that nobody else can come into the airport. Because when we close the airport and close the runways because we're at capacity, that's it. They're kind of in the airport, and we use Queensbury Avenue and Hicks Road as our exits. Then when it starts to get bottlenecked, then we turn around and use the Ridge Road.
Right. The other thing,
Yep.
now that we're on this, is handicap parking.
Yes.
People come in and apparently there was some signage or notification, but you have to realize not everybody, whether it was in the newspaper, on social media or whatever, we need to be practical about it and have some signage and saying right there at the entrance, handicap parking, go down to the next entrance or whatever. I'm just saying that there are a lot of people coming in significant amount that said, hey, where's the handicap parking? I said, go down there and they'll direct you. Well, actually, they should have come in a different entrance to access that.
Yeah,
So just those kind of things that would help streamline the whole.
Yeah, and just for, we do, again, we have our own, all the premier parking passes and all the passes that we hand out show where the handicap parking is. We also asked Mark Donahue of the Adirondack Balloon Fest to put it up on his website, which he does, and it specifically shows the map and where everybody should go. A lot of the problems, and Brad can probably vouch for this, is when they come down through, people want handicap parking and at 4 a.m. in the morning or 4:30 a.m. in the morning, when it's black outside, you can't see their stickers. I get a lot of people who said, I want a handicap, I'm handicapped. And then all of a sudden they'll pick up their thing and hold it out the window because they don't have it on their mirror. So, but the Saturday morning, Saturday morning, the handicap spots were filled on taxiway Alpha. And that's a pretty good length taxiway, but it was filled with handicap parking.
Right, I know, because I had, like I said, I had a lot of them come in, but they actually should have come in another entrance.
Yeah.
So I just want to, that's just one thing. We can talk about this.
I guess the last thing I'll add to that is and I spoke to Supervisor Stroud about this, there is a lot of debriefing that's going to go on after this one. We had issues with kind of hangar passes and chase vehicles passes. So I asked Supervisor Stroud in the next couple of weeks if we could get together with Mark Donahue, Anne Marie Mason, maybe Rocky Gerard, as well as Jim LaFar and Terry Como, and Mark Donahue, and kind of get a debriefing after this one to say, hey, especially because next year is the 50th anniversary
got big
And
plans
and
for
it's
that.
going to be a significant event next year. So I think we need to kind of just go through the minor issues. And I think most of them were minor issues that we had this year, and maybe get something different for going into next year. So we'll have that over the next couple of weeks. Yep, absolutely.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay. Good. Thank you. Mr. Lehman, are there any public comments regarding the airport agenda?
Hi, Chairman Bruno. Nothing on airport agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Lehman. Okay, last but not least. Building and ground, Miss,
Oh, I just want to catch Kevin afterwards about a gutter design.
okay. Very good, thank you. Mr. Rogers, you're up.
I will hit the first item on there, Chairman Bruno. The first item that we have on there is a new contract. This is to enter into a contract with a consultant to perform the utility and telecommunications audit. In your package, you did not have, and I apologize, I was going to pass these out. You did not have the vendor on there because we were reviewing the book. The vendor is Troy and Banks, and they are located in Buffalo. They submitted an RFP as well as two other companies. And so we had ratings in the RFP, and it was based on their experience, based on how much other municipality work they have done. And it came down to, it wasn't just cost, it was kind of a best value method and rating. So Troy and Banks was the winning, and they had submitted, at least, so I can let the committee know, based on a cost, 20% of whatever revenue that they recovered from utility companies. It would be a one-time, refund to them for 20% of whatever they have received or they have gotten back for the county. There would also be a savings recommendation utility audit fee of 12 months of savings per implemented recommendations. Now, that would be if we determine those implemented recommendations will save us money over the next 12 months. And that's only if we implement them. And we did the same thing for the telecommunications, which would involve all the phones that are within the county, as well as all the cell phones as well. And again, that's 20% for any refunds that they find us as a one-time shot. And then if we implement any recommendations, they would get 20% for 12 months of whatever the recommendation savings would be.
Supervisor McGowan.
We need a motion to bring this in, or you want me to talk about it? I'll do both. Motion to bring to the floor.
Second. Discussion. Supervisor McGowan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is at no cost to the county. It's really, they make their money on what they save us.
Correct. Let's just for an example, if they find that we are off $100 in our utility bills, whether gas or electric, we will get $80. They'll get $20.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Discussion items, the work order request program is currently at 2,540 work orders since the inception of it. Average turnaround for the completion of the work order is approximately 3 at most. So we're turning them around rather quickly. At this point in time, we're actually starting to get ahead in certain areas that we need to get ahead for the winter and prep these buildings. The fleet car request program is currently at 911 fleet cars requested since its inception last September. Currently, we have 4 vehicles that are on a long-term basically agreement with certain divisions that their cars have gone by the wayside and they need replacements on theirs just to get them along until they can have theirs replaced with the way the supply chain is and everything with their cars. So we have some long-term people utilizing them. Plus, we've come up with a plan for a couple other departments to utilize some of the public health vehicles. I'm out there because basically our fleet program cars are gone. Pretty much every day they're gone. They're signed out to a point where when they come back, we put them back in the system so people can sign them out for the rest of the day. So some are getting utilized twice a day. Just to give you an idea on that.
Very good.
Countryside adult home update. I'll turn it over. Yep.
So we received bids as of last week. We were pleasantly surprised that this is one of the first times this year, and especially on a rehabilitation project that we came in under or just about at the engineer's estimate. We're still looking at the numbers and reviewing them, so I don't want to say anything yet, but it looks like we currently right now have enough funding within the project to do the work. With the grants and the county funds, we should be covered to do the work for Countryside. Now, I will kind of add a caveat to that, that this is rehabilitation work. And when you start opening up walls or things like that, there's always a tendency for change orders. We had that when we did the courts. So I'm expecting there will be some change orders, but we also have contingencies within the contract to cover some of those change orders.
Good.
The next item on there we have is the abatement and demolition of the jail. We received bids, the low bid, and we've confirmed with the low bidder that there's, that they knew what they were bidding on, because they were not one of the ones that made it for the pre-bid meeting, and we didn't require them to. But they are confident that they're good to go forward with the work. So we had already approved to award it to the lowest responsive bidder. The only issue I have now is that the bid came in at $582,000, and we only have $500,000 from ARPA funding for that project. So I want to make the committee aware. We can discuss, I guess, now of where else we can receive that funding from. I would look to the budget officer and determine, is this more funding that comes out of ARPA? Does it come out of contingency or the fund balance?
Good answer, Frank.
I don't know if there's enough in contingent, I would take it out of there.
So that'll be determined later, so to speak. Or you have enough now. Something that.
I mean, if Supervisor Thomas thinks that, we should just use the fund balance, I guess I would make a proposal, even though it's not in front of you, to move money into that project from the fund balance. I can send a resolution this afternoon to kind of finalize it. But we're going to award it to the contractor, and I believe the treasurer's office won't allow me to do any of the work until the project is fully funded.
And is that funding a capital project that's already established?
That is
Have all of
correct.
That code, you're set to go.
Moved by Supervisor Strauss, second by Supervisor McGowan. Discussion? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the project hasn't even gotten underway. I mean, the project like that should have some level of contingency associated with it. If you don't spend it, it stays within the fund balance. But I think that
5 to 10%.
I would defer to the chairman's experience on this, but I would say, if you're going to do it, let's do it with a little bit of contingency for the project. That'd be my recommendation.
I'll amend my, I'll amend my motion to make it 82,000 plus 5% over costs, possible over costs.
Very good.
I'll second the amended.
All right. Any other discussion?
There was,
Yep.
it was mentioned contingency and it was mentioned unrestricted fund balance, wasn't it? Which one is it? Are we taking it out of the contingency fund?
Contingency,
Not the fund balance.
contingency is what.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say there's 134,000.
All right,
Yeah,
so from
that works.
contingency.
So the first motion would be to transfer the money. The second would be to increase the capital project with that funding. So we have two motions. Yeah.
So we'll do both of these at once.
Yeah, I'll do both motions.
Okay, with Mr. McGowan.
I'll second that.
The other discussion. If not, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And the last item I have under there is the discussion items is a budget presentation. And again, no different than what we just talked about with airport. Increase in salary and benefits is probably the biggest increases that I have in any one of the buildings and grounds budgets, as well as I'm hoping that next year that if the budget goes through, that we had an increase for road material and contracts to do the nurses parking lot out back here.
Have it in there.
We do.
Yep.
And then there was no increase in the building across the street, building number 11, which is the old detention home, which is going to become the Joseph Warren House. And then at the Health and Human Services building, again, it's some building repairs, contract for the elevator over there because that one expires, and and some, more minor adjustments in building repairs and such.
Very good. Thank you. Any Supervisor McGowan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Scott, just want to reach out, to thank you and your department. I make a lot of rounds around the building, talks to a lot of people, and a lot of the departments on these work orders, I'm very pleased, the quickness and really some of the quality that came back. So please extend a thank you to your department. And also I've noticed that some pre-maintenance is being done instead of a follow-up. Oh, we should have done that before. So these are great things that you're doing over there, and we really appreciate it. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And it's all because of the team. And I'll extend your comment.
Thank you.
Supervisor Connell?
Yeah, just a question. The granite steps on the side of the building look the limited access by the court are shifted around. Is that all going to be part of that renovation project to restack those? In the interim, I don't know if you think a couple of people with a pinch bar or maybe even a little payloader could move those, or would you be reluctant to do that if you're cracking them?
Well, I guess the first question would be, are you talking the ones to which the supervisors come in, or are you talking the Supreme?
Where the supervisors come in.
Okay. Definitely got his hand up because he's got training.
We will be doing some work out there, but I'm limited. I don't want to break any of those granite stones that are coming into there. But that will be part of the, when we get to the front entrance work, that will be part of that work as well. There's some, I know they've shifted. If there's some gaps and things like that, we'll see if we can shift them back into place.
Yeah, I'll do that, or at the very minimum, I think I might take some real fine shoulder type material and fill it in and so that it doesn't toe or heel or whatever going in that way. Make it safe anyway.
We can move into referral and pending items. So again, that's what Supervisor Connor was just asking about. That's the first item on there. We haven't done a lot for the design. We've been busy with Balloon Fest and budgeting and closing out a lot of the construction projects. So that's on my list moving forward. Number 2 is the update from Labella for the estimate. I have yet to receive that estimate from Labella. I put in email to Thompson Brownie from LaBelle, and I should be getting something fairly soon. And the last item on there, again, we haven't done necessarily anything yet, is the status of the magnetometers, and I'll let Scott kind of talk to it. I don't believe we're ready yet from courts as far as the magnetometers. They're still, they still have them at this point. But once we get the word that we're good, we already have kind of a pseudo design that we're going to use out there so we can put those magnetometers in place.
We have to plan for the changeover as soon as the state's ready to implement.
Correct.
And install their theory.
That's it. That's all I have. Members of the public care to comment? Lena, do we have any comments?
Hi, Chairman Bruno. Nope, nothing on YouTube.
Very much. That said, Mr. Rogers, will entertain a motion to adjourn the county facilities meeting.